Hello!
Hello, AOS fans!
It's the Agents of Sigmar.
And tonight we're talking about Harrowdeep.
So Harrowdeep, we've had 2 more articles come out now.
2 DOS!
And we were going to record something after the first one landed on was it the Tuesday it landed?
Tuesday, I think, yeah.
And then they released another one today, on the Thursday we were meeting today, and we thought, well, that's kismet.
It is, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So, yes, we are. We're going to talk about both articles, what we think it might mean, and if you haven't read them or can't be bothered to read them, then you can listen to this and find out what it is.
And hopefully it'll give you all the information you need.
Hopefully. First thing, and they've been quite a pains to stress this, is that it's the biggest box set yet.
I'm expecting a box about this size. With just all like padding and then everything in the middle like it would have been, because I can't see right now what makes it bigger.
No.
And if it is the fact that they've added like a dozen faction cards in there, which we'll come on to, that is the biggest joke in the world.
Or some extra tokens.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the screenshot of it. We've seen the board laid out. If anything, it looks like it has slightly less because it looks like it has some fewer tokens. So, I mean,
it's a funny one. I mean, obviously marketing speak, but I haven't at any point when I've been playing Underworlds thinking, I really love this game. If only it was just a little bit bigger.
Maybe everything's like 5mm. It's all been scaled up 5%.
It'd be really funny if, like, when the models come, they're like 78mm or something.
Just massive. The boards are just like A2 size when you fold them out. That's all they mean.
They've just got the kill 2 size boards.
Yeah,
2 of those.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just like all the dice are like a massive just a hamster.
And they haven't made. If they did that, they wouldn't have made the other ball bands obsolete as such. You just wouldn't be able to play with them anymore.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to use the boards either or anything like that. Yeah, so it is weird that they're saying that it's bigger. I mean, one of the theories might be that because we know it's only 308 cards, that possibly all the universal cards will come in the box. Maybe the box will have the 2 start warbands, their starter warband cards, and then all the universal / faction specific ones, or the Grand Alliance ones, or whatever.
Yeah, I would love that, but I can't see it happening.
No,
I can't see them changing the business model.
No, but we do know, because there's only 308 cards, there can't be 58 cards in each warband if they're going to release 6 more warbands afterwards, because the maths just doesn't add up.
But then, they're not above like giving things different numbers.
That's true.
But we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah. So the first article didn't really give us anything apart from a lot of sales spiel and going on about how it was in the under the sea in the realm of Ulgu and all this kind of
deep
stuff.
Deep beneath the sea.
Yeah.
One couple of things I did notice. One thing is it's got some sort of rebellious daughters of Cain in the setting.
Who aren't happy about Morothai becoming god.
Which is sort of interesting in itself, I think. And that they might team up with the Idoneth, which is even more interesting.
Yeah.
Now, they're part of the same Grand Alliance, aren't they?
They are both Order. Yeah.
So is Marathi still Order, is she?
She is still Order.
She's still Order.
Makes no sense,
I wonder whether that was already going to put the kibosh on the Grand Alliance stuff. Do you think we'll get a mixed DOK Idoneth warband? That would be pretty funky.
I think it would be funky, but I don't think we will. And my reason being, they seem to have kept every warband up until now just being single faction things, because then you can use them in AOS. But
that's true.
I mean, I guess it could be an Order mashup of some kind.
Order mashup.
I'm interested to see that they are sort of touting Daughters and Idoneth when they have released an Idoneth warband. Literally one of the last warbands to come out in Chasm, and the Daughters came out in season 3, wasn't it? So it's like, okay, you haven't long released these kinds of warbands.
I guess with it being underwater, they kind of got to mention the Idoneth. Kind of feel like
they kind of have to.
Yeah.
I really want some kind of sort of octopusy style kind of, and I don't mean James Bond.
Terrible James Bond movie.
No, what was his name from the Pirates of the Caribbean? Although
I know what you mean. I don't know. Yeah.
Him with all the octopus face. I kind of really want something like a bit like the Mind Flayer things. From D&D,
like a proper underwater kind of warband. They're actually kind of fish.
Yeah, not just like an orc with a haddock on his shoulder, but an actual underworldsy kind of warband.
Or like an orc with Captain Haddock from Tintin on his shoulder. I've noticed a couple of things I noticed was that they've talked about there is some Elven Habitation nearby. So I mean, I think that could be the Shadow Elves that people have been talking about.
Could be.
And that ties into this penumbral waterfalls they also mentioned in the thing.
Yeah.
Somebody pointed out somewhere that there's a possible Eshin outpost or something on the map.
But it's miles away.
Yeah.
I mean, in Australian terms, it's right next door. But in Great Britain terms, it's over there on the other horrible
very
continent.
long way around the M25.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not sure we're going to see Skaven as much as I want to. This season does appear to be very elf based.
Well, yeah, I think we might still, because it is shadowy, and the Eshin are shadowy ninja types, aren't they?
True.
So I think we still might see some Skaven, and we haven't seen any since season 1. In a very long time.
Very annoying. Very annoying.
Slightly intrigued by skeletons trapped in shade glass.
Yeah.
I don't know what that might mean. Whether that means there might be some sort of undead warband. I mean, I assume they're going to have at least one warband from every Grand Alliance. If they're going to have Grand Alliance specific cards,
they've got to have something in there. So I mean, they've recently done the Bony Boys, so maybe we'll go back to a bit like the Sepulchral Guard style. Yeah. So one of the old-fashioned, just plain old Skelligogs type warband.
You could actually do the Guard, but put them in shade glass, give them 2 dodge instead.
Be exactly the same models. You just have to paint them slightly differently.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's that's interesting to me. But again, it doesn't give us very much information on the meat of the game until the article they released today.
They did, but I'm gonna totally override you. I've got one more thing.
One more thing
down. In fact, 2 more things. Two more things.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Which is a little bit at the end. It said there's foolish adventurers wandering into the dungeon or something.
Yeah.
Now that could pave its way to anything. It could be like a piratey fish warband you were just talking about, or it could be Cities of Sigmar. That gives them carte blanche to do anything at all, which I'm really quite excited about.
That's
and
true.
then the last thing, it just talks about hidden doors and illusory pathways. So perhaps that
means we're going to get hidden paths deployed back again.
Well, yeah, there's a tie into the kind of mechanics we might see in the cards.
That's true.
But so that's what I picked out of the first article.
Okay, you picked up a lot more than me.
That's because I'm more conscientious than you.
True. Plus, he can read.
Yep. Yes, and spell. I can't spell conscientious though.
No. So then we come on to the second article.
Yes.
And the second article today gave us a lot more information.
It did. It gave us all sorts of new mechanics, really.
It did.
Starting with gloom. And a whole shake-up of how feature tokens / objectives are going to work.
That's possibly one of the biggest ones for us to talk about, I think, because I think that has a potential for a massive effect on the game.
It's really going to change it completely from anything it's ever been, really.
Does feel like it.
There's never not been 5 objectives available on the table at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
There's been a time where you haven't cared. There's 5 objectives available.
Yeah. But in Nightfall, they might as well have not existed.
But there's never been a time where there haven't been any.
Yeah.
And obviously all the cards like Temporary Victory and Hidden Purpose are cycling out, so that perhaps...
Maybe this game is going much more less towards holding objective based, and I think that could have a very big effect on hold objective meta and that.
Yes, possibly, unless it's a sneaky way of making them actually worth more. If you see what I mean, because rather than just making things worth, maybe because it's now more difficult, maybe they're going to have glory cards that are actually worth more glory. But it's an odd one,
possibly. But of course, we have the Essentials pack, which stays there, and you've still got Supremacy for just 3 glory.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, the Essential pack. The more I see of Harrowdeep, the more the Essentials pack seems like a
load of nonsense. Yeah, it does seem just nonsense, really. Yeah. I mean, one of the interesting things about it, for anyone who hasn't read the article, all of your objective tokens, all your feature tokens, start off as a gloom hex now.
Gloom hex, yes. So they're all, so it's like lethal hexes. So that's another interesting. Lethal hexes have gone, but they now have a gloom hex, and they all start face up on the gloom. There's none of this turning them over.
So there's no objective. So it's a bit like when you put your objectives out at the start, except you don't turn them over before you start playing. And if you're standing on a gloom hex, you get to count double assists as successes, which is
for defence.
For defensive only, which is a little bit of a bonus there for all your dodgers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, that one, and that almost tied in with a whole objective-y type warband, because you tend to not
lots
want to
of
get
dodge
hit,
based and running
but you're
around.
not standing on an objective, so and I assume at the beginning of the game you don't know which one is which.
No, because you're going to place them out randomly. So
you'll end up standing on stuff that you don't know what it is, which is kind of interesting.
I think it completely destroys the point of taking hold objectives 1 to 5, but no one cared about them anyway.
No, we took them anyway,
Yeah, so when you get to your power step, you can then flip an objective. Now, we didn't get all the information on it, so we don't know whether you can only flip ones you're standing on, or whether you can only flip ones that nobody's standing on, or what the specifics are.
You're not allowed to flip the one your opponent's just flipped.
Yeah,
because that would be a bit rubbish.
Yeah, because I mean, if that's the case and you can only flip one, I mean, once I've had a go and I flip a token over, and then you have a go and you flip it back again.
Probably.
The whole objective.
Unless I want one flipped over, I suppose. But yeah, probably I might just flip it back if that's part of your game
If
plan.
there's no cost in doing so, if there's no downside to flipping a token, because there was some thought we were having on the Discord about maybe you have to spend a glory to flip it over, but then that would be rubbish at the start of the game for your hold objective warband.
Yeah, like, oh, I've got these things and I can't win any glory to flip any objectives over.
Yeah, so that really does set the cat amongst the pigeons, I feel.
Definitely.
And the next thing in the article, Robin, was...
Grand Alliance cards, which I think we'd seen coming, was kind of telegraphed with the starter set because they've got a little Grant Alliance. Grant
Alliance, Grant and Phil, they're back. They've left EastEnders.
The Mitchell Brothers Alliance cards. So Grand Alliance cards are here. We don't know a huge amount about them.
No.
As usual in the marketing spiel, it said, oh, yeah, this is going to give you even more flexibility than you've had before. But
it's like how they might as well be universal cards.
Well, exactly.
If anything, the Grand Alliance cards give you less flexibility because it's only going to be available to the Destruction faction or the Order faction.
It depends where they've taken them out of. If they've taken them out of faction cards, so you're going to get less faction cards, then you've got more flexibility. Yeah, if they've taken them out of the universals, then it's less flexibility.
Yeah, if there's a sidestep in there, but it's only available to Order, for example, or something, or if there is a what was the one where you got a glory for killing someone right at the start?
Oh, like Strong Start.
Strong Start. If there's something like Strong Start and that's only Destruction, or maybe only Chaos, and then Destruction has the one where killing one of your own people, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Maybe.
When I could see that they might do that because it makes it easier to balance if you've got less faction cards. So supposing they only go down to, let's say, 20 faction cards, and then you've got 12 alliance cards in a standard deck. It's kind of a little bit easier to balance all the warbands across that, because they'll have they'll have the same of a similar pool, if you see what I mean.
Possibly.
But I just it's an interesting one that they claim. And again, I know it's the marketing guys claiming it gives you even more flexibility. But
I fail to see how any system where you get a set of cards for only a small group of the team warbands you can play against, in no way does that give you more flexibility.
Exactly, it's a very odd thing to say. One thing I'm really intrigued by, and I assume they are going to retrofit them, but there's no indication yet whether you have to have the alliance symbol on your card. Yeah. Because I know we all know pretty much what alliance each warband belongs to, but they don't have the symbols.
And they're not massively obvious if you're not into the lore.
No, exactly.
I mean, there's no way anyone would guess a load of half-naked people sacrificing and half-snake-like women would be Order.
No, that's true. They're one of the more or less obvious ones.
Yeah.
And to be honest, even if you know nothing about the lore, how would you know that Sinch and Khorne and Nurgle were related?
All on the same side, yeah. Very distant brothers.
Yeah.
So, I don't see how it makes things, gives you more flexibility or options, but I guess we'll wait and see when that comes. Yeah. And we don't know if those cards are part of that 308, although we're kind of assuming that they are at the moment. I think
that's the assumption. I mean, if they were separate... Then I guess that means that there'll
be 200 of them.
There's certainly more cards in play, and I guess we won't know till we see a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
And then the other big thing is the arrival of 3 new keywords, and the vague hint that these keywords might actually be in the book.
Yeah, the way it described it in the article makes it sound like they were excerpts from the book, at least.
Yeah,
which
although
is
I think some of the similar keywords of this type were in the book, like cleave and I think snare are in the book anyway. It actually isn't that different. So we've got 3 new keywords. We've got vulnerable, we've got grievous, and we've got stagger. Mm-hmm. Yes, which sounds like it could be a rough night out.
It does, yeah. It does sound a bit like. But so the first one we've got in that list is
vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
The most likely to be forgotten rule of the game, I think.
And also one of the most poorly worded.
Oh, it is.
It's typical GW wording because it words it in one terrible way and then it completely explains it again in a slightly better way. And you missed the third completely obvious way of wording it.
I feel some sympathy for GW because that is entirely our fault for always arguing the wording. They've tried to go round the houses on the wording. I can't remember what the word. I haven't written down the wordings. I can't remember exactly what it is. But it goes a very long way around to say if your fighter is on 1 wound.
Yeah, basically. Has 1 wound left. Because it goes on, if they have the number of wound counters equal to 1 less than their full wound statistics. Just if you've got 1 wound left, everyone knows what that means.
Except, there'd be some edge cases where it's not the case.
Maybe, but... So, and basically, if you have 1 wound left, I can't remember what it actually does.
If you have 1 wound left, it doesn't do anything.
Oh, that's
But
right. You're vulnerable.
But you gain the vulnerable keyword, and then there will be cards that interact with vulnerable.
I'm guessing there might be an objective which says kill a vulnerable fighter and get 1 glory or something like that.
Put a
Maybe
vulnerable fighter on an objective or something like that.
Yeah.
But
or have a vulnerable fighter alive at the end of the game.
Yes,
that kind of thing.
I also thought it could be quite a good way of damping down some of the really powerful dodge cards.
Yeah.
Oh, not dodge cards, defense cards.
Yeah.
Because the ones that give you extra dodges, like all through the game, are really powerful.
Yeah.
But if they're only when you're vulnerable, they have some use, but then
they're quickly out of use.
But they're quickly out of use with it.
Yeah.
So they're not like you put that on a tooled up. I can't think of anybody who's really good with dodges. But if you have a +1
dodges.
shield for Hearthgorn, all the way through is really tough. But if he's only good when he's on 1 wound, then it's a lot more balanced card.
Yeah. So there is that mechanic. We wait to see how in depth that is in comparison to
But I could totally see completely forgetting that people are vulnerable.
100%, definitely. Unless it's like an objective that I need or something like that.
Yeah, I suppose it's not quite so bad in the sense that you're putting things on them and then they've got the upgrade, so maybe I'll remember.
Possibly. But we won't.
The next one, I think, Grievous is basically just codifying an already existing mechanic in the game. There's a few cards where if you roll a crit, you get +1 damage.
Yeah.
And that's what Grievous does. So if a weapon has Grievous, then if you roll a crit in your attack, you get +1 damage. Again, I can see myself forgetting that. Yeah,
I mean, we forget cleave and ensnare all over the place, so I can definitely see us forgetting that +1 damage. We forget when people get pushed into lethal hexes sometimes to put the damage on them, or when they get killed by a lethal hex, that your objective for killing them not having the lethal kill them.
Yeah, but that's mainly our fault. But it's an interesting one, and I expect we'll see a number of Grievous weapons in the game, and I think there's quite a lot. There were quite a lot of +1 dice upgrades in Chasm, so I fear that will become like a ubiquitous. Every extra dice, obviously, you've got to massively increase your chances of getting a crit.
And of course, if you do get a crit in your attack, you're probably rolling 3 or 4 dice a lot of the time, which means your opponent's much less likely to crit defend it, which means you're going to be doing just that much more damage. It's just a great strength, 1/6 of the time.
Yeah.
For nothing, and I do worry that that's going to just mean some warbands are going to mince through others much easier. Quite
possibly, and of course it's compatible with great strength as well, if you've got a weapon with it and you add great strength.
And it didn't have any range restriction either, so you could have your range 4 1 damage fight suddenly knocking out 2 damage.
Well, only if I think the attack has got to be Grievous, so it depends on on how they form it. So I assume it'll be weapons that have it. So hopefully there won't be any.
Hopefully,
I mean, there could be. There's bound to be a great bow in there.
Yeah, something like that.
I wonder what the new amber bone, shade glass, whatever version will be in Harrowdeep. Something seems to be soggy. One assumes.
We know that it doesn't, but we'll come on to it because they did mention something in the article, so we'll talk about that in a moment. And then we have a third keyword, Robin. What is that?
Stagger.
Stagger.
Yes, nothing to do with scatter.
No.
I thought it might be like they get pushed back in a random direction or something like that, but it's not that. No. It is simply that if a weapon has the stagger keyword, then when you hit somebody with it, you give them a stagger token, so more tokens. That's more tokens to make the box bigger.
Oh yeah, there we go. Which we do know must be the other side of the guard token. Because if somebody gets 1 or more stagger tokens and they have a guard token, you remove the guard token.
Okay, yes, so that's what it is. So that's the first thing it does. If you give somebody a stagger, should they have guard, then it removes the...
It didn't clear up whether you can put a guard token on again after you've been staggered.
I assume you probably can, but I don't know.
I assume so, but it's one of the things you immediately think. Well, I immediately think, can you do it the other way around? But so that's what that does, and then there might be other things that then utilise that staggered.
Well, there is that if you then attack them, you can re-roll 1 attack dice.
Yeah, it's another re-roll we're going to forget about.
It's totally going to forget. Do you know what I think that's going to be really good for? Combo.
Well, maybe.
And I think most combo weapons are cycling out. There were a few new ones in the new Arena Mortis box, but combo, because it's I checked. The wording in the article at least said after the attack action.
Yeah.
So if you did an attack action with combo, you would give them a stagger token, and in the next one they wouldn't be on guard, and you'd get a reroll. And so the next thing, which is finished the keywords now, but the next thing was the illusion upgrade, which is a whole new type of free upgrade. Everybody loves a free upgrade. Always getting emails about free upgrades, and they're always rubbish. So hopefully these won't be rubbish, but they obviously can't be too strong because they're free. Godsworn Hunt love them because it's a free inspire.
Already they love it.
So they're already more powerful potentially than they've ever been at any time.
Ever, which is not very. So they haven't gained much, but they're still more powerful than ever.
But they are just basically going to be upgrades you can play for free. But there is a catch. As soon as you take damage, you lose it.
Yeah.
Which is the case of the Godsworn Hunt. They don't care because as soon as they take damage, they're dead.
Exactly. So it is the perfect Godsworn Hunt upgrade, really.
Yeah, so it does say to me. So we'll wait to see how powerful they are and how useful they are. If they're anything like some of the specific Godsworn Hunt upgrades, they'll be rubbish.
But I mean, if they're going to follow, they must be following the Shade Glass and the Amber Bone and all of those types of weapons. So there'll be the mace and the sword and the dagger and all that. They weren't bad. So to get that for free, admittedly,
it doesn't say that these are weapons. They could be ending, couldn't they?
True. But I mean, it'd be a bit rubbish if they suddenly go, no, we're not going to do that anymore. It's a pattern we've followed for 4 seasons, and now we're not going to do it anymore.
Well, I still think they'll do it. But the illusion things might not be it, or some of them might be, or it might be both. So there might be some the weapons might be illusionary, and then there'll be some other things.
Yeah, I mean, it does give you more benefit towards giving them to fighters that are going to die soon.
Yeah, definitely.
They're not the kind of things that you're going to load up on Hrothgorn or Mollog or anything like
unlikely.
that.
Depends how good they are, though.
True, because if they don't take the damage, then you don't really care. If you're just sitting there, everything's bouncing off you. Who cares? So
exactly, and also if they mean you can get an early attack off or something. Then they're worth it, I think.
Yeah.
The one thing I did notice, which has absolutely nothing to do with the mechanics at all, the picture that displayed the weapon, the illusion weapon, was, I think it was Sayic attacking Ilthari.
It was, yeah.
Totally squashing any rumours or things put about by certain YouTube channels.
Or hopes. Or dreams.
That old warbands are going to cycle out. I think it's the first thing I've really seen, apart from, that had the old warbands in. So that clearly states that there's going to be no trimming down of warbands.
Yeah. So that's pretty much out the window. I don't know how I feel about that. I think overall a little bit disappointed, but
I think once when they arrived at Mollog, I knew it was never happening.
Yeah, I mean, if they intended to get rid of him, they weren't going to bother doing that.
I think I would like them to, especially now they've got this Grand Alliance thing and they haven't got the keywords. I think it would be nice to at least. I don't know. Obviously,
it just feels like it needs a bit of a reset. But
I think I think we're slightly in the minority of that opinion. But
we might be.
It's it's clearly not going to happen.
It doesn't matter because our channel can say what we like.
Exactly. Final thing.
There's one more thing that we saw.
There wasn't really very much information about this, but that was the Rivals format.
Yes.
There's just a tiny bit about Rivals format, which is going to be pre-made decks.
Yeah.
Which is sort of interesting.
Hopefully it's interesting. I'm still very worried that they're just going to basically go, here's your 32 card warband deck again. And we're like, well, we had that before. And they go, yeah, but now it's a Rivals deck.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some Grand Alliance stuff in there.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
I think it'll be a little bit different. But it will be interesting to see whether you can have different flavours of Rivals decks, or you can have like an objective one or an aggro one, and or whether it's going to be specific to the warband.
The fact that it is an actual built deck will hopefully make it more playable, because the warband specific decks that we got before weren't necessarily always playable. They weren't synergized. No. So you would have different cards in there. So depending on your warband, Nurgle, for example, they had some hold objective stuff in there, but they also had lots of offensive stuff.
Yeah.
But that didn't all work together. So you ended up taking some of those cards, usually 0 to 1 of them, depending on what you were playing. And so you couldn't use that as a standalone effectively. You could use it, but it would mostly be terrible.
I'm not completely sure that's not still going to be the case, but hopefully they've made some decks which have been synergized. I mean, it'd be really nice actually if they were just pre-made. And the problem they always have with this kind of thing, so I've just interrupted myself mid-sentence, is that the warbands have different stats, obviously.
Yeah.
And so what is good for one warband isn't necessarily good for another, which makes it quite difficult to balance.
Yeah.
I think in some ways, I quite often compare Underworlds to chess. Chess is really great, both sides are the same. And in some ways, I'd almost like to play a game of Underworlds where you were playing, not quite a mirror, but where you were playing the same decks against one another to see, it's more of a mental challenge, I think, rather than the mental challenge being at the front of the game when you're building the deck.
Yeah.
The problem with it is some warbands are created more equally than others.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if you're going, we'll play two offensive warbands, and I'll take Garrick's, and you take literally other warband from season 2 onwards. Garrick's are just going to get wiped.
Pretty much, unless you're brilliant, and there are some people who can do that. But there are definitely, I mean, Monarch or Hrothgorn would just destroy them,
absolutely annihilate them. So. I am hoping that these Rivals decks, they did have a brief stab of it in Chasm because we had the silent but deadly people, whatever they were.
Yeah, but that deck is unplayable.
True. so maybe that's not such a good sign.
So I hope they haven't taken a leaf at that, but hopefully they've got some of the community involved, like your Mike Carlins and your Ammans who've played hundreds of hours of Underworlds, and say, these decks are balanced. That's really kind of what they need to have done.
Although, are any of them part of the playtest team?
I don't know, because it's all hush-hush, isn't it?
It is these days.
So
GW very secretive.
I don't know. I can't believe that they're not. Especially now physical requirements to play the game must have been removed.
So I think it could be possible. Okay. Yeah. Be interesting to see anyway, and I am hoping that these rival decks do give us that instant playability that I think the game
I would love
lacks.
it if they were balanced and meant that you could have a cerebral contest without all the upfront planning.
Yeah,
I would love that,
because I know that we are in the minority, but we both aren't particularly fond of building decks anymore. Me more so than you.
No, it's the time as much as anything. I think to do it properly requires a lot of time or a lot of play time. We don't have a lot of play time.
Exactly.
And
mums and dads only let us out for a little bit to go for play time.
And so that means that the decks aren't necessarily so good, or they're not so well honed, and then you have a bad experience. But we
don't want to play the same deck week after week after week for the channel.
You don't want to watch it.
No.
So I'm hoping for a good balanced Rivals format.
So that's it. That's everything we saw in the 2 articles. How are you feeling about the thought of Harrowdeep now after reading those, Robin?
I have mixed feelings. I think that I didn't need more mechanics. I mean, I knew I was going to get them, but I think for me, the glue mechanic probably would have been enough. Maybe one keyword.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I needed vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I needed stagger.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that the illusion weapons are quite interesting. Free upgrades is quite interesting, and +1 for cleave. We kind of already had that mechanic. It's just codified that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm still excited by the setting. The setting, the Chasm setting, and a Beastgrave were just a bit meh to me. But this one, I like the blues. I like the idea of the shadow. I think there's some potentially interesting. I don't know whether the cards will be themed, but there's some potentially interesting ideas there. That has got potential to be really interesting.
One other thing we did see in a bit more detail in the last article was obviously the card backs as well.
Yes,
and they are completely different to the card backs from season 4.
I still don't get that.
And the essentials pack. So it means if you're playing in any kind of slightly if you're not playing in a completely casual setting,
you're going to have to put sleeves. In fact, I think probably people will ask you to play with sleeves.
Yeah, I mean, if I walk into a store and someone's playing and I saw that they had half their deck was a completely different back, I'd be like, well, you're probably going to know roughly what some of those cards are, and whilst
at the very least you're going to know whether it's a faction card, potentially whether it's a faction card or a
Grand Alliance card or anything, or just a seat.
So an essential card. It's a bit frustrating and a really, really odd choice. Maybe we'll see. It's going to be okay, but I don't feel like it is.
Knowing GW's track record, they'll have just changed it, and their solution will be, we do some sleeves as well. Do you want some of them? I mean, they stopped doing them in season 4, but
this is maybe they'll buy them.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, so that's still an odd choice, and I think, well, let's reserve judgment until we've seen them.
Yeah, and I mean, overall, I think I feel the same about you. I'm not sitting there looking at this going, oh my god, I can't wait to play this game. I'm a bit more intrigued about the setting. I certainly prefer this setting to a stupid mounting that's alive.
Yeah.
That I just felt was completely ridiculous. I know some people will say that's the beauty of it. It's ridiculous. But to me, it just feels ridiculous in a trying to make everything bigger way that GW seems to have gone down with AOS a bit.
Yeah.
I prefer this setting. It's a bit creepier, a bit darker. It's a bit more atmospheric. I like the shades of the boards. I am that shallow that the blue entices me more. Actually. It does, maybe. Yeah. But the extra keywords and stuff, I'm like, oh, do I really have? Really, do we have to do
it'll be okay. And if we play more rival stuff, then hopefully some of the other stuff like primacy, or whatever, we won't be using. So it'll kind of
that's true.
what it gives.
Because if we play
it, take something away.
If we play it on the channel, we will almost definitely play Vanguard format or Rivals format or something like that.
I think so. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let us know what you're looking forward to. Are you excited about the whole thing? Or are you reserving judgment like us? Are you a little bit downhearted by some of the new mechanics you've seen? We are eager to know what everybody's thinking.
Do let us know in the comments below.
And if we missed something out when we were going through those articles and you did see it and you were eagle-eyed enough to spot it and notice that we hadn't talked about it, then do let us know about that in the comments as well.
Absolutely.
So do like, subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up, all that good stuff. Tweet our stuff, follow us and share it. And whatever else there is on social media these days, give us a honk. I don't know what they do. All these different things.
TikTok,
slap, slip, all the rest of it. Just do all of that stuff. It really helps us with the channel and it really keeps us going. So yeah, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking.